We're going over the 7 levels of NFL GMs. Each and every level there will be better and better general managers, starting with the ones who set franchises back a decade, all the way to those who helped shape the league into what it is today. To start, we have level 1.
Level 1. The worst.
These GMs set franchises back with their bad drafts, trades, and/or free agency signings. To start with the obvious, we have Matt Millen. Matt Millen's tenure as Detroit Lions president and general manager from 2001 to 2008 is the gold standard for how to completely destroy an NFL franchise. His 31-97 record over 8 seasons speaks volumes, because even his best season in 2007 when they went 7-9 was still a losing record. Take your pick from the parade of draft disasters, but I think Charles Rodgers stands out as particularly catastrophic. Taken second overall in 2003, Rodgers managed just 440 yards and 4 touchdowns in his entire NFL career, playing only 15 games across 3 seasons. Millen thought the dynamic duo of Az Hakim and Bill Schroeder in 2002 was going to be something special. He thought he could recreate the greatest show on turf in Detroit, so he overpaid for these receivers, thinking Joey Harrington was the next Kurt Warner, and he wasn't. But what made Millen legendary was his obsession with wide receivers. He drafted 3 straight wide receivers in the first round: Charles Rodgers, Roy Williams, and Mike Williams, creating the most expensive and unproductive wide receiving core in NFL history. Millen's reign of terror culminated in the 2008 season when the Lions became the first team in NFL history to go 0-16. He was mercifully fired after week 3 of that disaster, but the damage was done. Another team that went undefeated the wrong way was the Cleveland Browns, led by Sashi Brown. Now I get it. It wasn't all his fault. Jimmy Haslam is a real devil, but I mean, he was 1-31. He has to be here. And yes, that includes going 0-16 in 2017, making the Browns just the second team in NFL history to achieve that futility. While he didn't have many chances to screw up the draft, he managed to make the most of them. But the real damage wasn't who he picked, it was who he traded away. Brown infamously traded away the picks that became Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson. Now in hindsight, those might not be the worst misses, but it still could have helped the team not to go 1-31 in those 2 seasons. That lone victory came against the Chargers in week 16, only winning by 3, so they were really close to going back-to-back seasons of being over. He stockpiled draft picks and cleared up a bunch of salary space, but who cares if you only win 1 game? He did set up the Browns for the 2018 draft though, where they got their franchise guy in Baker Mayfield, and then promptly fumbled him. Speaking of fumbling talent, we have Gene Smith. Gene Smith's tenure as the Jacksonville Jags GM from 2009 to 2012 is a textbook example of how to systematically destroy a franchise through 4 consecutive drafts. His 22-42 record over 4 seasons tells the story, but even his best season when they went 8-8, I mean that's just mid. They bottomed out at 2-14 in 2012. The infamous Brian Anger selection, Smith drafted a punter in the 3rd round of the 2012 draft. When he was criticized for the pick, Smith defended it by saying, "I'd rather take a starter over a backup." But somehow it gets worse, because the year before that, he actually traded for somebody who's going to be out the league pretty soon, in Blaine Gabbert in 2011. Not only did Smith select one of the biggest quarterback busts in NFL history, he actually gave up additional draft capital to move up for him. Smith's 4-year reign of terror was so bad that in 2013, the people that took over for him inherited what was essentially an expansive franchise. Rich Kotite's tenure as New York Jets head coach / de facto GM from 1995 to 1996 represents one of the most catastrophic 2-year stretches in NFL history. His 4-28 record over 2 seasons is just historically awful, with his best being 3-13 in 1995, and it somehow got worse from there, bottoming out at 1-15 in 1996. The Kyle Brandt disaster in 1995 really was the icing on the cake. With the 9th overall pick, Kotite selected a tight end while Warren Sapp, a future Hall of Fame defensive tackle, was still on the board. Jets fans were literally chanting, "We want Sapp, we want Sapp" at the draft, but Kotite ignored them completely and took Brady. This proved Kotite's failure wasn't just coaching, it was also management and competence. The same goes with Bill O'Brien. The DeAndre Hopkins trade disaster was really funny in real time and even funnier in hindsight. O'Brien traded a future Hall of Fame receiver in his prime to Arizona for David Johnson, a washed-up running back, a 2020 second-round pick, and a 2021 4th-round pick. The Texans went 0-4 to start 2020 before finally firing O'Brien, but the damage was essentially done, and they never really recovered until they got CJ Stroud. And lastly, we have Chip Kelly. His 1-year tenure as the Philadelphia Eagles head coach / GM in 2015 proves that you can destroy a franchise in record time when given enough power. His 7-9 record might not look historically awful, but the damage he inflicted in just one season with personnel control was franchise-altering. Trading away LaShawn McCoy, a Pro Bowl running back in his prime, to Buffalo for linebacker Kiko Alonso. McCoy had just rushed for over 1,300 yards, and he was still a top-end back for Buffalo for a few seasons. Cutting Deshaun Jackson because of fake gang-related activity, and then signing DeMarco Murray for $42 million over 5 years, and him being immediately awful. And immediately he had the locker room turn against him. Rightfully so, he stinks. Level 2, we might get to some slightly, and I mean slightly, better general managers.
Level 2, still bad.
These GMs honestly could have been in the lowest tier, but I think they're barely better than the crew below. To start, we have Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman brought the Panthers into their most successful years as a franchise, making multiple deep playoff runs and getting to a Super Bowl, so he is slightly above the rest here for that. But I want to talk about his Giants tenure. Dave Gettleman's tenure as a New York Giants GM from 2018 to 2021 is a masterclass in how to waste premium draft capital while maintaining just enough competence to avoid complete disaster. His 19-46 record over 4 seasons was historically bad, but his best season in 2020 when they went 6-10 at least showed they could occasionally win some games. He drafted Saquon Barkley, who despite injuries for them, rushed for over 1,000 yards in 3 different seasons with them, and provided at least some elite level production. His worst pick was DeAndre Baker, who was out of the league in just a few seasons. The Kenny Golladay signing was hilarious. Kenny Galladay's 4-year, $72 million contract in 2020 was supposed to be the missing piece for Daniel Jones, but he was a complete bust, and so was the Nate Solder signing. Though he left the Giants fans sad, there's someone else whose team colors are blue and deserves special recognition. Ryan Grigson's tenure as the Colts general manager from 2012 to 2016 is a perfect example on how to waste a generational quarterback. He did have a 49-31 record over 5 seasons, so it looks respectable, but that was pretty much due to Andrew Luck's brilliance rather than GM competence. The Trent Richardson trade was awful, giving up a first-round pick for a running back who rushed for just 977 yards in 2 seasons with Indianapolis just can't happen. Grigson failed to build a competent O-line, leading Luck to take a beating and ultimately retire early. The 2015 veteran signings were a complete disaster. Andre Johnson caught 41 balls for $10 million. Trent Cole couldn't do nothing. Frank Gore had probably his worst season, under 4 yards per carry. Grigson wasted Andrew Luck's prime, and that was franchise-altering incompetence. And the same goes for Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace's tenure as the Chicago Bears general manager from 2015 to 2021 is a textbook example on how aggressive trading and poor QB evaluation can really destroy a franchise's future. His 48-65 record over 7 seasons was consistently mediocre. His best season they did go 12-4, but they lost on the double doink. Pace infamously traded up to select Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, 2 future superstars who were still on the board. But the funny thing about that is Pace actually gave Mike Glennon a 3-year, $45 million contract in 2017 for some reason, I'm not really sure. He was fired just a few seasons later after trading up for Justin Fields. Vinny Cerrato's tenure as Washington Redskins Executive VP of Football Operations from 2002 to 2009 really showcases how consistently overpaying for aging veterans while completely whiffing on draft picks isn't a good strategy. His 62-82 record isn't the worst that we've seen, but they were pretty much incompetent. They did have 2 playoff appearances, keeping him out of level 1, but Cerrato was obsessed with drafting athletes over football players. His draft classes were littered with busts who looked great at the combine, but were disasters on Sunday. Speaking of people who look awful on Sunday, we have Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry's tenure as GM for the Cleveland Browns from 2020 to right now is super underrated for some reason. People always talk about how smart he is, how they always win the draft, but then you look up every Sunday and they're losing, if not getting dog walked. Berry gave up 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 fourth-round picks, and then handed Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. I get it. That wasn't fully on Andrew Berry. Obviously, the owner had a lot to do with that, but to say we want a grown-up in the locker room and trading away Baker Mayfield for Deshaun Watson is pretty funny. If you look over their past few drafts, there are very few hits and a lot of misses. What makes Berry frustrating is his inability to really scout the most important position along with the others, and somehow he keeps getting away with it. Level 3, we get to some mid GMs.
Level 3, mid.
We have Trent Baalke here. Trent Baalke's combined tenure as GM for the San Francisco 49ers and Jacksonville Jags represents the definition of mediocrity without Jim Harbaugh. Capable of building competitive rosters, but consistently making franchise-altering mistakes. Baalke did have some success in free agency, particularly in 2022, with getting Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Foyesade Oluokun, Darius Williams, Evan Ingram, and Brandon Sheriff, all of whom played significant roles in Jacksonville's AFC South title that season. He is a snake, though. The complete organizational dysfunction he created in San Francisco was stuff of legend. Baalke's conflict with Jim Harbaugh and his role in the coaching carousel that saw the 49ers fire 3 coaches in 3 years showed his inability to work within a collaborative structure. The fact that potential coaching candidates like Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, and Byron Leftwich all expressed concerns about working with Baalke ultimately led to his firing from Jacksonville, proving his reputation for dysfunction preceded him. And somehow Joe Schoen still has a job, and it looks like they're going to be in another rebuild of a rebuild. His 20-39 record over 4 seasons looks terrible, but his best season was 9-7-1 with a playoff appearance in 2022 that nobody saw coming. Schoen has shown some talent in the later rounds of drafts, hitting on players like Tyrone Tracy and Drew Phillips in 2024, plus his 2022 class has had some solid contributors that helped fuel that unexpected playoff run. Let's not talk about the 2023 draft though. Signing Daniel Jones to $160 million and letting Saquon Barkley walk to division rival Philadelphia Eagles has definitely been the worst part of his tenure so far. What makes Schoen particularly frustrating is his really inability to evaluate the QB position, even though it does look like Jackson Dart may be that guy. AJ Smith's tenure as San Diego Chargers general manager from 2003 to 2012 represents the ultimate what could have been story. A GM who built incredibly talented rosters but could never get over the hump. His 95-65 record over 10 seasons was consistently good, with his best stretch being from 2004 to 2009, where they made the playoffs 5 times, including that dominant 14-2 season in 2006. Smith was exceptional at identifying and acquiring elite talent, building rosters loaded with Pro Bowlers like LT, Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates, Sean Merriman, and countless others who made San Diego one of the most talented teams of the 2000s. But here's where things flip. Smith's conflicts with head coach Marty Schottenheimer led to firing a coach who went 14-2, creating instability that haunted the franchise. His inability to work collaboratively with any other coaching staff became a recurring theme throughout his tenure. The Chargers declined from 13-3 in 2009 to 7-9 in 2012. It showed Smith's inability to maintain excellence without a great coach. Someone who also couldn't maintain excellence was Chris Grier. Chris Grier's tenure as Miami Dolphins general manager from 2016 to 2025 represents the definition of mediocrity. His 77-80 record over 10 seasons shows he's not completely incompetent, with his best stretch from 2020 to 2023, where they had 3 winning seasons, including an 11-6 record in 2023. Grier has shown some talent in finding skill position players, hitting on picks like Jalen Waddle, and building one of the league's most explosive offenses when healthy. The Tua Tagovailoa selection over Justin Herbert in 2020 was a really bad miss. While Tua has shown flashes, Herbert has clearly been superior. Despite making the playoffs 3 appearances in his tenure, the Dolphins went 0-3 in postseason games, extending the longest active playoff drought in the NFL. Level 4, we actually get to some good GMs.
Level 4. Good.
These GMs are above average and build competitive rosters, they're just nothing special. And we're starting with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones' tenure as GM/president/owner/whatever else is from 1989 to present, but he really didn't help set up the triplets, so I'm going to be talking about his time after that. He's been able to draft really solid to even pretty good players like Tyrone Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Micah Parsons, and other players in that mold. The problem is, though, he doesn't necessarily know how to build an actual team. He can pick players, he just can't do it consistently in order to build an elite roster. He gets a bunch of mediocre head coaches and then complains about them. He drags out contract talks for too long, and that's why he can't be any higher. He's not awful at drafting, he's not great in free agency, but he is good at both. Same goes with Eric DeCosta. Eric DeCosta's tenure as Baltimore Ravens GM from 2019 to present represents consistent competence with flashes of excellence, with his best seasons being in 2019 and in 2023, when they won over 13 games and both made deep playoff runs. DeCosta has shown excellent talent for aggressive trade deadline moves, acquiring impact players like Roquan Smith and Marcus Peters, who immediately contribute to playoff runs. His ability to identify defensive talent has kept Baltimore's defense competitive despite roster turnover, except for this year. Despite all the regular season success and playoff appearances, DeCosta's Ravens are just 3-5 in playoff games with no Super Bowl appearances, consistently falling short against elite competition like Kansas City and Buffalo when it matters the most. And when Lamar went down earlier this season, it looked like it was a JV roster without him. But DeCosta represents the modern good GM, excellent at building competitive rosters and making smart moves, but unable to get over the championship hump that separates good from great. Someone who's had an insane turnaround is George Patton. George Patton's tenure as a defensive Broncos general manager from 2021 to present represents the classic rebuilding GM who actually has competence. The Sean Payton hiring has proven to be transformational. After whiffing completely on the Russell Wilson trade, they've completely turned around the ship. Someone who's also turned around the ship is Chris Ballard. He has a 69-71-1 record over 9 seasons, showing they're consistently good, but just not great. His 2018 draft class was particularly strong and won Executive of the Year because of it. The QB carousel was a real problem after Andrew Luck's retirement, from Jacoby to Phillip Rivers to Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Anthony Richardson. But he's been able to find some stability, it looks like, with Daniel Jones. They're currently 7-2 as I'm recording this in 2025, and showing Ballard's roster construction is finally paying dividends. Someone who also just needed a bit of patience was Brad Holmes. At first it was bumpy. Brad Holmes' tenure as Detroit Lions general manager from 2021 to present represents really an impressive turnaround. His 44-31-1 record over 5 seasons shows dramatic improvement, with his best stretch being 2023 to 2024, where they went 12-5 and 15-2, reaching the NFC Championship game and setting franchise records for wins. Holmes has been exceptional at drafting talent, with 6 of his draft picks making Pro Bowls, the most of any team really during that span. His hits include Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brian Brandt, and Sam Laporta, creating the foundation for Detroit's success. He's also shown excellent judgment in trades, turning the Matt Stafford trade into Jared Goff plus additional assets. Give him a few more years and he can reach the great level. He just hasn't gotten there yet. And that's what we have next.
Level 5. Great.
These GMs are elite. To start, we have John Lynch. Now I get it. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, much like the others in level 4. But I think him building stacked rosters, getting to multiple Super Bowls with Jimmy G, or literally Mr. Irrelevant, puts him here. John Lynch's tenure as San Francisco 49ers GM from 2017 to present represents elite roster construction. His 76-65 record over 9 seasons shows consistent competitiveness, with his peak being from the 2019 to 2023 seasons. They won 13 games multiple times during that stretch, made 2 Super Bowls, and went to 3 NFC Championship games. Lynch has been exceptional at drafting talent outside of the first round, with 6 of his 8 most impactful picks, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Deebo Samuel, Hufanga, and Brock Purdy, coming in rounds 2 through 7. His ability to find Pro Bowl and All-Pro talent throughout the draft has really been unmatched. Lynch inherited a 2-14 disaster and has turned them into an elite roster, and they're still playing well despite all their injuries this season. John Schneider never gets talked about, and I'm not really sure why. His tenure as Seattle Seahawks general manager from 2010 to present represents one of the most successful GM careers in modern NFL history. The peak years obviously being the 2012 to 2016 Legion of Boom era, where they made back-to-back Super Bowls, winning 1 and going to multiple NFC championships during that time. He drafted Hall of Fame players like Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, and Bobby Wagner during that stretch as well. Schneider has shown a remarkable ability to evolve with the league, transitioning from Russell Wilson to Geno Smith, and now with Sam Darnold. While Schneider only has 1 Super Bowl championship, I can't put him in the level above, but he has been great for a decade and a half now. Same goes with Jason Licht with the Bucs. Jason Licht's tenure as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers general manager from 2014 to now is one of the most remarkable franchise transformations in NFL history. If you know anything about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're typically pretty bad throughout their history. The Tom Brady signing in 2020 was the catalyst to winning their first Super Bowl since the early 2000s. But Licht had already built the foundation with players like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Vita Vea, and Devin White. The Bucs' continued competitiveness in the post-Brady era with Baker Mayfield just shows how elite Jason Licht is at building a roster. Lastly, we have Les Snead. Les Snead's tenure as Los Angeles Rams general manager from 2012 to present represents one of the most successful and innovative GM careers in modern NFL history, with his peak being from 2017 to 2021, where they made 2 Super Bowls, won 1 of them with 2 separate rosters. Snead pioneered the F them picks philosophy, aggressively trading first rounders for Jalen Ramsey, Matt Stafford, and Von Miller, winning that Super Bowl, and has really rebuilt through the draft ever since then, getting players like Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and others in that mold. Snead's 9-year collaboration with Sean McVay represents one of the longest tenured active GM-coach partnerships in the NFL. These guys were elite. just not all-time GMs like we have up next.
Level 6, historically great.
These general managers are all-time greats, and to start, we have Brett Veach. His 105-36 record over 9 seasons is historically dominant, with his incredible stretch including 7 straight AFC Championship games, 5 Super Bowl appearances, and 3 Super Bowl championships, while maintaining unprecedented organizational excellence. Veach has built one of the most successful dynasties of the salary cap era. Trading away players like Tyreek Hill in order to retool has been really impressive. His partnership with Andy Reid and ability to keep core guys like Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones has been masterful. Someone else who may be building a dynasty as well is Howie Roseman. Turning non-playoff teams into Super Bowl contenders in 2017, 2022, and 2024, while capturing the franchise's first 2 championships in 2017 and then in 2024. His 2017 additions, Nick Foles, Alshon Jeffrey, Chris Long, and Garrett Blount delivered a Super Bowl championship. His 2022 moves of A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, James Bradbury, and C.J. Johnson reached another Super Bowl. And in 2024, picking up players like Saquon Barkley, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, and Cooper DeJean led them to another championship again. And because of that, Howie Roseman is an all-time great of the modern era. Someone from a previous era is Ron Wolf. Ron Wolf's tenure as general manager for the Green Bay Packers from 1991 to 2001 represents one of the most transformative and influential GM careers in NFL history. His 101-59 record over 10 seasons includes a complete franchise resurrection, with his peak being from 95 to 97, where they went 11-5, 13-3, 13-3, capturing a Super Bowl championship and reaching another one, all while Brett Favre was at the peak of his powers. The 1996 Super Bowl victory was a culmination of Wolf's masterclass roster construction. He built that championship team through a combination of shrewd trades like Brett Favre and free agent signings like Reggie White. Wolf didn't just build winning teams, he restored the Packers' identity and connection to their community. He was an innovator for his time, and so was Jim Finks. His 220, 169, and 5 record over 27 seasons includes transforming 3 different franchises into Super Bowl championship contenders. He built championship caliber rosters with the Vikings, the Bears, and the New Orleans Saints. Finks' Minnesota Vikings reached 3 Super Bowls in 1969, 1973, and 1974 during his tenure. And while Chicago didn't make the Super Bowl during his tenure, he built the roster that did. Finks is one of the few who could go through multiple franchises in multiple decades and still be elite. Someone who was kind of a flash in the pan, but his light was so bright, we had to mention him, is Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's tenure as Dallas Cowboys head coach / GM from 1989 to 1993 represents one of the most remarkable franchise transformations in NFL history. His 44-36 record over 5 seasons includes the greatest turnaround in league history, from going 1-15 in 1989 to back-to-back Super Bowl championships in 1992 and 1993, while being the team of the 90s. His roster construction through the legendary Herschel Walker trade, acquiring multiple draft picks that became the foundation of 2 Super Bowl teams, represents arguably the greatest GM move in NFL history. And there's another Dallas legend in Tex. His 250, 162, 6 record over those 3 decades, including building America's team, with his legendary accomplishments being 2 Super Bowl victories, 5 Super Bowl appearances, and 20 consecutive winning seasons, revolutionized modern NFL football. Strom didn't just build championship teams, he fundamentally transformed how the NFL operates as both a sport and entertainment business. Lastly, we have one of the most underrated of all time, and that's Bobby Beathard. His 180-164 record over 22 seasons includes building multiple championship teams with legendary accomplishments in his role as one of the best judges of football talent in NFL history, plus 2 more championships as Washington's GM in 1982 and 1987. With San Diego, Beathard helped turn the Chargers around from years of mediocrity, leading them to their only Super Bowl appearance in franchise history during the 1994 season, showing his ability to build winners across different organizations. These were some of the best ever. They just weren't the best ever, like we have up next.
Level 7, the best.
These are the best ever, and there's 6. Ozzie Newsome, Bill Polian, Bill Belichick, Al Davis, George Halas, and Paul Brown. Starting with Al Davis. Al Davis' tenure as Oakland/Los Angeles Raiders owner/GM from 1963 to 2011 across 48 years represents one of the most successful and influential executive careers in NFL history. His 409, 310, and 11 record over nearly 5 decades includes building a championship dynasty, with his legendary accomplishments being 3 Super Bowl victories, consistent playoff success, and revolutionary impact on league operations and diversity. Davis was a trailblazer who fundamentally changed the NFL through his just win baby philosophy and commitment to excellence. They won the championship in 1976, 1980, and 1983. And though things got weird at the end, he's an all-time legend. And so is Paul Brown. His 329, 216, and 9 record over 4 decades includes creating the modern NFL through revolutionary innovations, with his legendary accomplishments being 7 championships and having a franchise named after him with the Cleveland Browns and starting another one with the Cincinnati Bengals. Brown represents the pinnacle of NFL executive greatness, a man whose innovations, championships, and organizational genius literally created the modern game that we know it today. Someone else who lasted decades was George Halas. His 326, 259, and 13 record over 6 decades includes literally creating the modern NFL, along with Paul Brown. Halas' Bears won 6 NFL championships in 1921, 33, 1940, 41, 46, and 1963, showing sustained excellence that spanned multiple eras of football, an absolute pillar in NFL history. And the same goes with Bill Polian. His 229 and 131 record over 23 seasons includes transforming 3 different franchises into championship contenders, with his legendary accomplishments being 1 Super Bowl championship, 5 appearances, and a record 6 NFL Executive of the Year awards. He built championship caliber rosters with the Buffalo Bills, the Carolina Panthers, and Indianapolis Colts, reaching Super Bowls with 2 of them and making an expansive team competitive immediately. Polian's Bills reached 4 consecutive Super Bowls from 1990 to 1993, and his Indianapolis Colts won in 2006 and made another appearance in 2009. He sustained championship-level excellence across nearly 3 decades. Same goes with Ozzie Newsome. His 200, 167, and 1 record over 2 decades includes building 2 championship teams and becoming the first African-American GM in NFL history. Newsome was a trailblazer who fundamentally changed the NFL through his exceptional talent evaluation and organizational leadership. In his first draft, he picked Ogden with the 4th overall pick and Ray Lewis with the 26th, and with his last first-round pick, he picked Lamar Jackson. Just an absolutely insane resume. Lastly, we have Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick's tenure as New England Patriots head coach/GM from 2000 to 2023 across 24 years represents the most successful coaching/GM combination in NFL history. His 266 and 121 record over 2 decades includes building the greatest dynasty in the salary cap era, with his legendary accomplishments being 6 Super Bowl victories, 12 AFC championship games, and 19 consecutive winning seasons. They won the Super Bowl in 2001, 2003, 2004, 2014, 2016, and 2018. Trading players before others noticed their decline, signing great players on a bargain, and of course drafting Hall of Famers, including the GOAT, Tom Brady. Belichick didn't just build championships, he sustained a dynasty across 2 decades. Even though it got weird at the end, he's definitely one of the best ever. And so there you have it, the 7 levels of NFL GMs. Subscribe if you're new, thanks for watching, and see you soon.